I could feel that they were kicking me, but I didn't feel the pain. And I looked at myself almost from the outside in, and I just saw this little person lying there helpless.
You guys ready? Or we'll just wait for
Yes, maybe she's
Emma
speaking up
ready?
unseen.
Take us back to your earliest years. What do you remember, little Nina?
Little Nina was a good girl. The good girl that didn't make eye contact, the good girl that would never be seen or heard. My job being in the house was literally to cook and clean. I was told I was possessed by a demon, a bad entity. I didn't have any relationship with my mother or father, but I, in my head, longed to be held by them the way my brothers were. But at the time, I just knew that was the way it was, and it was because I was born a girl. I had been catering to my dad and his friends from probably the age of 6 or 7, until this incident happened at 14. And this one particular night, I did not want to get up. My mother woke me up by force, really. I heard my dad and his friends downstairs, and I was quite scared. Sometimes I feel that our body's giving us an alarm system. We don't understand why. I prepared the food and took it in for my father. But as soon as I walked in, my father grabbed my wrist, which meant I let go of the tray, and he pulled me onto a low table. He pulled down my pajamas. He placed his hand over my mouth, and he held my hand down and raped me. My father pushed me off the table, and one of the other men grabbed me. He stuck a bottle into my vagina, and it really hurt. And they all started to laugh. And my father said, "Have her." And each man, in his own way, raped me. I was 15, turning 16, when I got married. And where I was now was 100 times worse than where I'd ever been. I got to a point where at 21, I was tired of being touched in a way that I didn't want to be touched. I made some friends at work who encouraged me to leave. It was an Indian girl who was like me. She said, "Leave and go back to your parents. People have changed. Your parents will love you." I left my work one day and decided I was going to see my mum and dad, that they were going to understand. I remember walking around the corner from the bus stop and seeing my house and feeling really safe, which sounds strange, but it was familiar. And I remember looking at the house and how big it was and the space and the flowers in the front garden. I remember walking to the front door, and I remember reaching for the door to knock on the door, and the door opened by itself. And my father was there, and my instinct was to look down. And as I put my head down, he grabbed my ponytail and he pulled me in, he yanked me in the door. I realised I'd made a terrible mistake, but I couldn't go back out. And then the beating started. My brother repeatedly punched my face until my jaw broke. They broke my arm. There was a bone sticking out of my leg. And eventually I just fell down. And when I fell down, they started to kick me and stamp on me. And my father, he held his foot against my throat with such a force that I felt I left this world, and I looked at myself almost from the outside in, and I just saw this little person lying there helpless. And then a voice said to me, "It's not your time yet." And I remember going back in the body almost. I could feel that they were kicking me, but I didn't feel the pain. And I was in and out of consciousness until I heard the door open. It was my other brother. And he said, "Stop." He said, "Not here, we'll take you to India, we'll get caught." And I watched their feet just leaving. The door was shut. I lay there for days. I soiled myself. I literally couldn't move. But one thing I knew is that I didn't want to die. And I thought, if I can get to this door and open the door, then I can get to the kitchen. If I can get to the kitchen, I can get to the outside and I can climb the fence and I'm out. And I kept saying it to myself, repeating it. I'd almost had to break this journey down. But literally the only thing that was keeping me going was my mind, my will to live. Since that experience, I had a different presence of my own self. I felt, which sounds strange, that Nina had died more than once on that carpet, and somebody else had rebirthed this Nina that you see in front. This person had come back for a reason. The moment that I discovered love for me was almost like a game changer. When I fell in love with me, completely accepted who I am, I was then able to love and give that to more people. And you get to a point where you have such an abundance of love, you give it to the people that most people don't think they deserve it. A lot of people say, well, your parents don't deserve love. But forgiveness is an act of love. And I forgave them because I didn't want to be bitter. I wanted to be better. And I think I could do more by being better.